Colin Kaepernick has come into the news recently, once again in a heated controversy over the meaning of the American flag. I kid you not. As you have seen already, Nike has pulled the special 4th of July sneaker from stores, which was requested by Kaepernick himself, in a very articulated letter to the sponsor and company. As a response, Nike pulled the sneakers, and now they're selling for as much as $2,500. Well, that's a lot. So much for a regular sneaker, right? Well, anyways, Kaepernick then, on the 4th of July, makes this tweet, quoting directly from one of Frederick Douglass's most infamous speeches. "What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? This 4th of July is yours, not mine. There is not a nation on earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour." Now, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas responds to Kaepernick's tweet because it lacks context. The most important thing is that, well, he says this. I'll just read a couple of the things that he says. "You quote a mighty and historic speech from a great abolitionist, Frederick Douglass. But without context, it's kind of hard to understand. Here are the two critical points. The speech was written in 1852, before the Civil War. Thanks to Douglass, so many other heroes, we ended that grotesque evil that made enormous strides to protect civil rights for everyone." This is true. Going on, he says the second point is that Douglass wasn't anti-American. He was rightly and passionately anti-slavery, as everyone should have been. Indeed, he concluded, and I'm adding some of these quotes to himself, but I'm adding commentary as well, as of course everyone should have been anti-slavery at the time. But anyways, indeed, he concluded the speech as follows, and he says, I do not despair of this country. There are forces in operation which must inevitably work the downfall of slavery. I therefore leave off where I began. While drawing encouragement from the Declaration of Independence, the great principles it contains, and the genius of American institutions, my spirit is also cheered by the obvious tendencies of the age." Now, here's the thing. Because recently, the Declaration of Independence, as of yesterday, July 4th, Independence Day, was deemed a symbol of bigotry and racism to people on the radical left. Well, I think it's safe to say that Kaepernick isn't necessarily a moderate Democrat. But one thing that he does say a lot, and especially through the context of his Twitter feed, which I can just click on his Twitter feed and show you that he defends Megan Rapinoe, not singing the national anthem. Not that she's forced to, by the way. But she takes direct inspiration from Kaepernick himself. Slave patrols were early forms of anti-black police terrorism. He retweeted this. He has 2 million followers. Now granted, they only got like 500 likes on it, but still, this is a public figure, verified on Twitter. And the scary part about it is that I don't like what he says, but man, I'll die for his right to say it. Everyone has a right to say what they need to say. And that's because it's guaranteed by the First Amendment, so long as it doesn't call to acts of violence. Kaepernick's original ploy for kneeling for the national anthem was to show that black people in communities were being discriminated against by white cops. Now, I don't have the statistics pulled up, but I can tell you really quickly that there are more white people killed by cops than black people. And that is because there are more white people in this country than there are black people. But yet, every single time a black person is shot by a white cop, it's shown on national news. I don't know why. There's probably a narrative working there, but Kaepernick, as a symbol of rebellion, showing that he wants change, kneeled for the national anthem. Now, a lot of people wrongly said, well, he should stand for the national anthem because we're disrespecting soldiers. The flag has many different meanings, most of which all unite us under one thing: America. If you don't stand with America, where do you stand? I don't know. The same thing goes for Megan Rapinoe. If you don't sing the national anthem, well, what are you prideful of? And it's kind of interesting because ESPN on their Instagram also said that Megan, she had made a statement in response to all the negative feedback that she got for stating that she will not visit the effing White House. She said that she loves this country. Basically, that was her statement. But then she does this, and she kneels for she doesn't kneel. She refuses to sing the national anthem. Can you really say one thing and then do the other and then expect people to believe both? I don't think so. The same thing is going on with Kaepernick. Now, granted, Frederick Douglass was a anti-slavery abolitionist, and he loved America. I don't think I can say the same thing about Colin Kaepernick. If he truly wanted to make things better, he wouldn't just call them out and put it on his Twitter. Now, would he? Or make public statements denouncing the things that he doesn't like. But more or less, he would actually donate money to the organizations that he wants to make this country a better place. Now, granted, these are some very egregious pictures of the past. Don't get me wrong. But this is exactly what Frederick Douglass was fighting against. And it's also intermixed with some modern day, like I said, white cops shooting black people to prove a point. It's kind of nitpicking body cam footage of just what exactly, what his modus operandum is. And in this case, his modus operandum is to divide the people. I don't see him actively trying to make change in the communities that are being impacted by this judicial discrimination against black people. I don't see him doing that. What I do see him doing is standing on a soapbox on Twitter and then hoping that the people that he influences do something about it. That doesn't sound like activism. That sounds like pandering. It sounds like pandering for a political cause. What Ted Cruz did here was he educated people on the importance of the context of the speech, because those quotes were taken before the Civil War, which freed slaves. Now, granted, Reconstruction was a very dark time for slaves because Jim Crow existed. And I'm not former slaves. At the time of Reconstruction, they are now former slaves. Now, I'm not arguing that Reconstruction was a great era. I had to do a jump cut there because someone opened my door. Anyways, I'm not arguing that Jim Crow or Reconstruction was a great era for African Americans at the time, or newly freed slaves. But what I am arguing is that without context here, you can easily interpret Colin Kaepernick's statements as, we must never forget the evil that was once done in this country, and never will we ever forgive those who have done those evil things. And what I think that means is that, and just by looking at the video, I mean, it's almost interpreting every white person that you see as an evil person. I don't know why that's the case. There's plenty of white people I know that are really nice people. There's plenty of minorities that I know that are pretty nice people. And yes, there are plenty of minorities and white people that are not nice people. That doesn't mean that they should suffer from the consequences. That doesn't mean that they should suffer from the consequences of their ancestors. And the whole big picture that I'm trying to get here is that we're seeing these slave reparations trying to go through the House Committee. We're seeing these slave reparations trying to go through the House Committee. And really, I mean, what is it other than pandering to your base? Because there's not a single black person in America right now that actually was impacted by the consequences of Jim Crow or slavery itself. Maybe everybody's great-great-great-grandparents were, or maybe my grandparents' great-grandparents were, but that does not mean that they are where they are because of their great-great-grandparents. You see what I'm saying? For the people that were detained in Japanese internment camps in World War II under FDR, they were paid financial compensation directly. But that doesn't mean that their kids or their grandchildren will be paid that same compensation because they weren't affected by the atrocities that our government instilled upon those people. You see what I'm saying? So, in conclusion, I hope everyone had a wonderful 4th of July. And they had fun, and they ate a lot. They got to watch fireworks. You get to, have fun. You know what I mean? I don't expect everyone to understand the meaning of the 4th of July, especially now. I'm seeing a lot of my younger friends, meaning like kids in high school, that are not understanding what the meaning of, Independence Day is. And does that worry me a little bit? I mean, right now, kind of. Because you have people like Colin Kaepernick that can easily persuade them to believe that America is this place that very, very evil, no good, very bad place that we shouldn't like because of the past. Even though it's the leader in everything in the present. You know what I'm saying? So, I think Colin Kaepernick is an example of people who don't realize what they have until it's gone. Because in all honesty, I'm almost positive that the man doesn't realize that his freedom of speech is the only reason why he gets to say what he gets to say. I can't blame him. I would do the same thing if I was him. Talk about how this country doesn't let me express myself, yet you're expressing yourself and no one's doing anything about it. Now, if his account got banned on Twitter because he called for violence, or maybe if he did something radical, then maybe, people would be like, oh my gosh, he can't speak freely anymore, and they would understand that the policing that's happening to conservatives on social media is the same thing that's happening to the left. So, the big picture, right? Because I keep alluring back to the big picture here. Have a little sense of nationalism. And no, nationalism is not fascism. Nationalism means love for your country. Because no matter how much we hate our past, we can't change it. But we can learn from it. So, when you see people talking about how bad America was, just talk about how good America is now. Because America can get better. And it will get better. And it has been getting better. I don't see any argument for America will go back to putting people in chains. That was a quote from Joe Biden, stating that Mitt Romney would put y'all back in chains. Who says that? You know what I mean? Very divisive stuff, man. Well, I gotta go because I have work, but I am working on some more content for you guys, and I'm also working on a way for you guys to support me in any way. But if you like the video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like and comment and share with friends. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. This has been Chris's News and Politics, and I'll see you guys next time.